It's just not going to happen. Fans are walking out after 84 minutes. It's an embarrassment. People at the top need to look and see this and actually make changes. Put a plan in place that people can actually sit there and go, actually, I can see where we're going now. I don't see it.
OK. Look, the inquest will continue. In the short term, United have blown the chance to get closer to that top four. The longer term questions, though, surely now are greater than ever. We'll hear from Peter on Burnley in just a moment, but let's quickly get... You just want to be on the telly, don't you, and celebrate this. But it's also a funny old night as they stay out there clapping the fans who've travelled. You know, they've performed brilliantly, they've won the game. The headlines will be all about Manchester United, though. We shouldn't forget what a brilliant performance this was by them.
What an incredible performance from Burnley. It's easy to talk about the negatives of Manchester United. It's one of the greatest clubs in the world and it's in disarray at the moment. But spare a thought for the Burnley fans. I mean, they've travelled here and they haven't won in however many years. And what a performance they put in. There was incredible performances from the whole back four. I thought both the wingers helped the full-backs out, the two midfielders. Everyone worked and they fully deserved the result today.
They played like a team.
Yeah.
Real team. And Sean Dyche has to take huge credit, him and his staff.
I know what you're saying there. Right, let's have a quick look at the results from the evening because there were a couple of games elsewhere tonight and they were big games as well. Look at that. Leicester 4, West Ham 1. Barnes, Pereira 2 for Perez. The only downside for Leicester with all the games that are going to be coming between now and the end of the season is an injury to Jamie Vardy who went off in that one. And it finished Tottenham 2, Norwich City 1. Son with the winner in that game. We've got Wolves against Liverpool for you tomorrow evening here on BT Sport. But let's just show you the way that the table is looking now. And we said at the beginning of the night a great opportunity for Manchester United to close that gap to the top four. They haven't taken it. Tottenham did take it. They move up onto 30 points, the same as Manchester United. United 11 points worse off than they were at this stage last season, and of course they could be leapfrogged by Wolves tomorrow evening if indeed they can do the business over Liverpool. Down towards the bottom, while Manchester United are toiling for Burnley, it's the total opposite. They now move up to 13th after back-to-back wins. They are 7 better off than they were at this stage last season. So we've got more football for you tomorrow evening. Tonight, is that a fair reflection?
Yeah, hold our hands up wasn't good enough. You know, when you the first half we create some half openings, we're not sharp enough to take our chances, and then when you don't do that, you're there to be punished, and we were. They were clinical, they were efficient, and they defended well, so we couldn't open them up.
What have you been saying to the players in that dressing room? What's been missing there? Is it fear? Is it a lack of confidence? What is it?
You know, the boys are giving everything they've got. They are experiencing this period for the first time in their life, some of them, and it's very, very difficult for them. The expectations at this club as well is high, and some of them, they played 10, 12, 15 games, and it's not easy for them. So of course I'm going to back them. I'm going to be here to help them get through this, because that's, when you're at Man United, there's always going to be criticism, and we hold our hands up now. We can't do anything but hold our hands up and say this isn't good enough for this club.
I understand you've got injuries, you're in a state of transition in some respects with young players, but it's still the worst league start for 30 years.
Yeah, and but that's you can talk about that all day long, and of course we're disappointed in the points tally, performances. We're still fifth in the table, which I don't want to hang on to, that we're fifth in the table. But of course, yeah, we work every single day with these boys to improve and to get us performing better than this.
And people can see what's missing and people can see what you need. Are you getting the support that you require to change that?
Yeah, we're looking for to improve. Yeah, definitely, and we know as well. We've got our targets, and of course, days like this highlights more how well some of them have done so far in the season. You know that some of the results and performances we've had have been fantastic. Today, probably that's the second defeat now at home. It's the first since August, and I thought we'd turn that corner, winning games like this, but we haven't, clearly, and keep chipping away.
But I also talk about support in terms of recruitment, because it's clearly needed.
I understood you were talking about that, and that's always going to be the talk at the moment, because we've started a clear out and get players in job. and now it's a transfer window. So of course I'm going to be answering these questions until until it's closed. So and we're working on things.
Because United are one of the biggest clubs in the world, and people are waiting to see United deliver it as one of the biggest clubs in the world in the transfer market.
Yeah, but for me, the most important thing, or we have to perform on the pitch, and today wasn't good enough for a Man United team.
Thanks, Ollie.
His squad, the way the whole place is running itself. Look, let's go back to that moment when you famously banged the table live on BT Sport. Ollie's at the wheel, give him a contract. At that time, you genuinely felt, right, that giving that man a job here at Manchester United was going to move this club forwards, right? So, is he not doing enough, or are there fundamental issues above Ole and around Ole that mean this is so much more than a question just about the manager?
I think around that time his record was phenomenal. Just been at PSG, won away. Young players are thriving. Rashford scores the winner. You get caught up in emotions. I'm a football fan. I love this club. You want them to do well. You jump at the chance of someone who's doing what they're get him involved, get him here, secure him and make the place, then you can start building and putting the foundations in place. But since that point, it's really been a rocky road since then. And the problem, it's not just one area of the club. I think all of it needs to become brought together, and it's going to take somebody to come in there with a vision to make that happen. Whether the person's in the building at the moment or not, I don't know. But the recruitment, and you can look at recruitment over those 7 years, that this has kind of been on a downward spiral. You look at some of the players that have come in Rojo, Falcao, Fellaini, Schneiderlin, Darmian, Depay. Were these players ever Man United players really for different reasons, either mentality, ability, style of play? Were they ever really Man United players? And that's what I was a lot of the time getting baffled with. Who's buying these players? Is it a manager just coming in and I want these players for now? Or was it the club saying, no, hold on, we're going to buy for now, but also future-proof the club as well? And I don't think that was taken into consideration when recruiting it, especially the early parts of the 7 years we're talking about. And then even now, you look at the team now, £600 million, you said, roughly, been spent on this squad.
It's about £100 million more expensive to assemble this squad than Liverpool at the moment.
And the best players, probably the 4 best players this season, most impressive players have been this season, homegrown talent. Williams, Greenwood, Rashford, and who's the other one? Well, anyway, but them 3 players, just to start for starters, have been the best three, most impressive players. McTominay before he got injured, and that speaks volumes about the recruitment. That tells you how shoddy it's been.
So this isn't an issue, Peter, of Manchester United not spending money. Spending money is only the right thing to do if you're spending it in the right way. 17 months ago, they said we'd like a director of football, and it still hasn't happened.
Well, it's the huge thing, it's recruitment, isn't it? I think the most damning stat is that they've got a squad worth 100 million more than Liverpool's.
Probably not worth 100 million more than Liverpool.
No, but cost, sorry. But it's, I mean, it's chalk and cheese, isn't it? I mean, it's recruitment. Who's buying the players? I mean, the managers, Mourinho, Louis van Gaal, they're not bad managers. David Moyes, they're not bad managers, are they? And I think now they'll probably go out now and spend 30, 40 million on a player and just try and fit him in. He's a superstar, and pay a few quid and try and keep the fans happy. This squad, it's got to be the worst squad in the last 30 years. It's nowhere near it. And you can blame Ollie and you can blame the manager. But I mean, if you look at that squad there tonight, we were looking at the options off the bench. It's miles off it. This is Manchester United. It's a sad state of affairs. It's one of the biggest clubs in the world, and it's been run badly. It's been mismanaged. They've signed players that don't fit the squad. There's no ethos. I don't know what a Manchester United player is anymore.
Well, it's like they're signing players to fix problems, isn't it, rather than long-term thinking.
When you look at Liverpool, let's look at the team that everyone's aspiring to be like now. That's the team that's setting the benchmark. That club don't buy players because they are the best player in that position or the best player about. They buy players as the best player to fit in their system, and that will actually be in that system and play in that team for a number of years. It's not a short-term fix. It's longevity looking for. Total opposite end of the scale here. We're just buying players here at Manchester United. Sanchez is a great example. Just buy him a stopgap quickly. Spend all the money you can just to fix a problem quickly. It can't. It doesn't work.
What they're doing at Liverpool is they're buying players, and if they're not ready, they don't throw them in. They're improving them, and every single player they've bought has improved from being at the football club. Most of the Manchester United have bought in the last few years, last 5 years even, has gone backwards.
So how do they solve this problem then? Because it's not that they're not spending the money, right? But they're not spending it correctly. So while you've got the Glazers owning the club and Ed Woodward effectively running the football club and then Ollie and his team managing underneath, do you go now and spend another 50 million or another 100 million? Because you've done that. You've done that on players previously and it hasn't worked. So what is the answer here?
In this transfer window just gone, I saw a difference from the previous 6.5 years in terms of buying young, hungry British players, which was a shift from before just buying the best no matter where they're from, whatever age they're at, overpaying. And I saw a shift in that. And they've made a stand. They're probably one of the best teenagers in the world. They let go and they let him go to Borussia Dortmund because they weren't going to be bullied, and they made a stand against being bullied by an agent. So I understand they're making little tweaks and changes here, but in the grand scheme of things, mistakes have been happening so often before that. And obviously to try and fix that, it's going to take time. But you can see here, these fans they're not giving it time. They're singing songs, they're shouting, they're leaving early. At 84th minute, 85th minute, I'm seeing people get up and go. It's unheard of at this stadium. People need to sit and watch this, get a videotape and look at the stands in the 85th minute onwards and see people leaving with the disdain on their faces. It's an embarrassment. And I said that before, but that's no other word to explain it. I'm sitting up here thinking, this is the team that I love coming to watch, I love playing for. The difference, the downward spiral in that short space of time, which is only 7 years, has been remarkable.
You see with the interview from the Burnley players there, I mean, I remember coming here playing against Rio's teams and, you know, trying to keep the score down, let's have it right. And now they're coming here and they're expecting to win. You know, was it Chris Wood after there saying, you know, we thought we could get a result. I mean, that was unheard of. And it's a sad state of affairs because, as much as listen, I've got any shoe in this camp whatsoever. You know, I played for Liverpool. I've got a family of City fans, but it's sad to see a club of Manchester United's stature at the level they're at now. I mean, this is arena we're in here, and the squad just doesn't match it.
So we have to talk about the manager then. We've talked about the bigger picture, the recruitment situation. If they don't bring in a director of football, that's not going to change. Is the manager doing a good enough job? They're 11 points worse off than they were at this stage last season.
Well, the results will suggest not. You have to be honest. I played with Ollie, he's an ex-teammate of mine, but you have to be honest, the results that are being churned out are not good enough. And I will give him a little bit of backing in one sense. He's got a lot of injuries to big players. McTominay, probably the outstanding player before he got injured. Pogba's a huge player, most expensive player here. Now Rashford's got injured, who was in the form of his life. So he's had some big key players get injured. But still, the big amount of money been spent on this squad, you'd expect more to be in reserve, waiting to come in out off the wings to come and perform. We're relying on an 18-year-old at half-time to come on and change our fortunes. That says where we're at.
I feel sorry for the young players coming in because, you know, they haven't got anyone to look up to, really. You know, there's no one who's dragging them along. It's the young players who are showing the more experienced players the way forward, and that shouldn't be happening at a club like this.
It's a really difficult situation for Ollie now to try and turn this around, isn't it?
He's got to galvanise these players. There's got to be who's in that change room. It's not just about the manager as well. Ollie's got to be in there with his management team and getting hold of these young players, getting hold of all these senior players. Listen, boy, you step up, you stand up now, and you go in there and you make sure people understand that we're not going to be shrinking violence. We're not going to sit there and be scared and come out shaking to pass a 10-yard ball.
But that's not happened in over a year at this football club. That moment hasn't happened where you sort of go, right, I understand what Manchester United is now. I can see improvements in individuals. I can see a style of play. I can see where this team is heading. Like if I said to you, where are Man United going? How do you answer that question?
I don't know. There's been far too many inconsistencies, and you can blame that on the age of this squad, because the age of this team that played today was very, very young. One of the youngest in the league.
Well, over the course of the season, to give them their due, they have named, on average, the youngest squads.
Yeah,
in the Premier League
with
this
that
season.
comes inconsistencies. With young players, 100% comes inconsistencies, but again, it goes back to the recruitment, which it always keeps doing, is that if you've been doing your recruitment right, you wouldn't have to rely on so many kids. You'd do it right so that there's actually some experienced players in there that can stand up. The likes of Maguire, just been given the armband, you need to be stepping up in that change room and bringing people together and saying, listen, we're not going to go out there and get done at home like this by a Burnley team. Yes, they perform well, but it's Burnley. With all due respect, we should be making sure we get the 3 points here. We're looking to get in the Champions League here.
You look at the How have you let Lukaku go, Sanchez go, and not have anyone to replace them? They've had no one to replace them. And Rashford's been leading the line on his own. Martial flatters to deceive, doesn't he, constantly? And Greenwood's the only other option. I mean, you've got Lukaku and Sanchez there, and of course they had their faults, but Lukaku gets you 20 goals a season, guaranteed. He's been allowed to leave. So it's not just recruitment in the sense of buying players. It's the recruitment. How have they been allowed to leave the football club?
Chris Smalling. He's the best defender at the club. If you're talking just outright defending, he's the best defender at the club. Gone. I don't understand it. That's just my opinion. As a centre half, looking at it, if I was playing against Burnley today and I had to pick a centre half who's on the books of Manchester United to play, he'd be the first name on the sheet.
Lukaku's banged in 18 goals at the club he's gone to. Manchester United are talking about struggling for a goal scorer.
He guarantees goals, Lukaku. Listen, there are people here, he's split opinion, they divide opinion, but what he does do is get goals, and that's what United are lacking. There was players in the box. I mean, there was chances in that first half there that Lukaku would have scored. I think there was, they did create them, and then it's a whole different game. But listen, we sit here and criticise Man United, we have to, but Burnley did a fantastic job today. They were. We can't just sit here and all be about Manchester United and how bad it was, because Burnley were first class today, and they deserve a lot of credit for that.
OK, Ollie is just apparently emerging in the tunnel. We'll hear from him as soon as he stands in front of Des. But just sort of from a personal point of view, for someone like you that gave so much of your career to this club, won so much, how does it feel watching this now?
It's hard, man. It's hard to be sitting here and criticising. There's ex-teammates I played with in there, ex-teammates who are part of the management team. It's difficult. You don't want to do that. You want your team to do well. You want them to produce, but you can't sit here and lie and tiptoe around it. You have to say what you see.